He's talking about the enemy within Pennsylvania. He's talking about the enemy within our country, Pennsylvania. He's talking about that he considers anyone who doesn't support him or who will not bend to his will an enemy of our country. It's a serious issue. He is saying that he would use the military to go after them. Think about this. And we know who he would target. And we know who he would target because he has attacked them before. Journalists whose stories he doesn't like. Election officials who refuse to cheat by filling extra votes and finding extra votes for him. Judges who insist on following the law instead of bending to his will. This is among the reasons I believe so strongly that a second Trump term would be a huge risk for America and dangerous.
So look, is Donald Trump's bizarre music swaying the most important thing in this campaign? No. But does it put on full display his deeply bizarre decisions, and is it just the latest in a long, long line of gaffes, mistakes, and missteps that betray the cognitive decline that he's suffering from right now? Absolutely. He might beat his chest about how strong he is, but let's be crystal clear. He is compensating for the fact that he is tired, he is weak, and he is confused, and all of that shows. But most of all, he's desperate, and desperate people can be dangerous. So if you take one thing from this video, let it be this. We all have the power to end this circus once and for all, and to get ourselves out of the imminent danger that we face. So if you have your ballot already, fill it out and return it right away. If you can vote early, do it right away. Let the campaigns focus their resources on those true undecided voters out there who need the focus, because that's what's going to be the difference. And then once Kamala wins in November, Donald will have all the time in the world to listen to Ave Maria and sway to his heart's content from Mar-a-Lago or Bedminster or a federal prison, depending on how things shake out. Before you go, just a quick note, if you'd like to see more of my content, which is always free of advertising, sponsorships, and paywalls, please make sure to subscribe to this channel using the subscribe button right here on this screen. And if you'd like to support my work even further, you can grab a copy of my instant #1 New York Times selling book, Shameless, available for sale right now. That link is also on the screen. Thanks so much for watching.
That's why you need the new Bearskin Hoodie 4.0.
Jessica Tarlov, the lone liberal on Fox News, keeps proving she is a national treasure. On the show The Five, conservative co-hosts Jesse Waters and Janine Pirro criticized President Biden's hurricane response. Tarlov then humiliated the conservatives.
Not only was Joe Biden on top of this, he signed the disaster declarations even before the storms hit to make sure that there would be no delay in goods and services. Donald Trump's social media posts contain blatant lies, like Governor Kemp can't reach the president. Governor Kemp gave a press conference yesterday where he said, I just spoke to the president. He has promised me every single thing that I need. McMaster from South Carolina, also a conservative, getting everything that he wants, and then Roy Cooper as well. And there's only one president that we are talking about who actually has denied relief for one of these states. In 2017, Roy Cooper asked after Hurricane Matthew for a lot of money, and he got 1% of his ask. They denied 99% of what he was asking for after that hurricane came.
That's correct. President Trump denied most of what the North Carolina governor wanted in 2017. President Biden is giving the governors in this disaster, Republicans and a Democrat, everything they want. But for the Fox News conservatives, what matters is the political photo op. Donald Trump had one with disaster officials in Georgia. Harris has stayed out of the region for now, and that's a problem, according to Jesse Waters.
But she should have been in North Carolina. The governor's a Democrat there. He would have teed her up. She would have been hugging. She would have been promising billions of dollars. She would have been wearing her boots and her bomber jacket. That's what Americans want to see a leader do at this time. You have to frame this up properly. Trump's in Georgia. You need to be in North Carolina. You have to show the American voter what a Harris presidency would look like.
Once again, cue Jessica Tarlov.
But to say that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are out to lunch during this, or they're sitting on a beach reclining there, they are clearly giving them what they need. They will be showing up when it is appropriate. And it's different for Donald Trump, who is not in office. He's just a guy trying to be president again, to show up and throw some bounty at people, versus someone who's actually the commander in chief and doesn't want to distract from what's going on. And as Dana said, Governor Cooper said, I will let you know when it is appropriate for you to come. And same goes for Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee. All of it.
Donald Trump did not want to wait. He insisted on going to Georgia. And at a brief photo op in front of the press in Valdosta, Georgia, Trump launched a juvenile verbal attack at Minnesota Governor Tim Walz while Trump was praising J.D. Vance.
I think J.D. is going to do great. He's a very smart guy. He's done a great job. People like him a lot. He's against Tampon Tim, I think, who I don't think should have ever been chosen. He's not qualified.
He's not qualified, said Trump, at an event that was supposed to focus on hurricane relief. Well, many voters believe that honesty and credibility are important qualifications to be president of the United States. And Donald Trump keeps showing us his severe deficiencies, even when talking about the storm and federal help for states trying to clean up.
They're not being responsive. The federal government is not being responsive.
The former president falsely claiming President Biden had refused to get on the phone with elected officials like Georgia's Republican Governor Brian Kemp. Both the White House and Kemp say the two leaders spoke the night before.
He just said, hey, what do you need? He offered that if there's other things we need, just to call him directly, which I appreciate that.
A furious President Biden says Trump is making things up.
He's lying, and the governor told him he was lying. I don't care about what he says about me. I care what he communicates to the people that are in need.
Most Georgia residents are taxpayers, but not all of them. Hundreds of thousands of people in the state pay no taxes because their income is so low. And those are the people that Marjorie Taylor Greene and other Republicans have insisted in the past do not deserve government assistance. They need to get off their sofas and get to work, the conservatives have said. Well, now that nearly everybody in Georgia, not just the poor, have been affected by the storm, conservative talking points are going out the window. Whatever. I'm glad to see conservative lawmakers like Marjorie Taylor Greene and others acknowledge that government actually does have a role in helping people and in making people's lives better. And on top of some government help and assistance, credible, competent leadership will also help. Donald Trump is none of that. He keeps showing us that he only cares about himself and about regaining power, and that he's happy to leverage a natural disaster to boost himself and take shots at his rivals. Thankfully, even on Fox News, Trump is getting called out. Jessica Tarlov and a few other liberal commentators keep delivering facts. And the facts about the Biden-Harris administration relief efforts And Donald Trump's lies are clear.
So maybe you get a little paper towel like this, like he did in Puerto Rico. Boop. That's what the people want.
I'm David Schuster. Thanks for joining us.
Looks like Donald Trump continues to shed support from even those whose support should be obvious. Fox host Geraldo Rivera tweeted a post today on Twitter writing, "With 3 weeks to go until Election Day, Donald J. Trump stands a reasonable chance of becoming the 47th President of the United States, despite assassination attempts, impeachments, special counsels, felony convictions, and hundreds of millions in civil penalties. Most polls show this race against VP Kamala Harris too close to call. The first time he ran for president in 2016, he was coming off the last season of Celebrity Apprentice. I had a front row seat as a finalist on that final season and marveled at his audacity with his checkered past to seek the highest office in the land. Then, in the blink of an eye, he went from novice to formidable challenger to victorious over Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. As president, he was a loyal friend who allowed regular access. My resulting coverage gave him the benefit of most doubts. His presidency was underrated. Throughout his first big scandal in office, the 2017 to 2019 Mueller investigation into allegations Trump conspired with Russia to undermine our political process, I stuck with him, deeply suspicious of constant efforts to undermine his administration. The last time President Trump and I spoke was Friday, November 13th, 2020, when he called me at home. It was 10 days after his narrow loss to Joe Biden. He was calling to get my take on the controversy surrounding the election, which appeared to have been decided by a handful of votes in several states. I asked him what he would do if the vote count remained against him. As I reported on Fox News that same morning, Friday the 13th, he told me he was a reasonable man and would do the right thing if that time came. It never did. Instead, President Trump embarked on an increasingly menacing campaign to discredit the 2020 election. With a motley supporting cast of increasingly fringe characters, he careened from one bizarre theory to the next, offering no meaningful proof that he had been robbed by the Democrats. None exists. If you are a Republican, Donald Trump has made a liar of you. He has coaxed and intimidated tens of millions into pretending he was reelected in 2020 and that the election was stolen. In furtherance of the big lie, on January 6, 2021, Trump incited and unleashed the violent attack at the center of democracy, the U.S. Capitol, for which he was impeached. As his followers trashed that sacred place, he was on the phone urging Vice President Mike Pence essentially to overturn the will of the American people. Pence refused to put Trump ahead of the Constitution. Trump stabbed the Constitution in the back. Maybe you are inclined to vote for the former president anyway because he says he will cut your taxes, or build the border wall, or pull out of NATO, or put tariffs on China. However you justify voting for Trump, adopting his big lie about the stolen election makes you a liar. Better to admit he lost last time, but that you don't care because a Harris presidency would be a disaster, or you admire his defiance in the face of an assassin's bullet. Just don't pretend that he got robbed in 2020. That is a lie. Former President Trump is a sore loser who cannot be trusted to honor the Constitution. That is why I am voting for Kamala Harris to be our 47th president. Now, here's why this is especially important, because this isn't some MSNBC host coming out in favor of Kamala. It is a lifelong Fox host, an admitted friend to Donald Trump. This is what it looks like when Trump failed to shore up the support of those closest to him.
What if there was a way to know if a stock will be bullish or bearish the day before? The truth is, there actually is one way.
And I get that Geraldo himself doesn't command some huge following, but it's not about that. It's about poking a hole in this myth that Donald Trump commands full, undying support and that it's sacrilegious for anyone on or near the right to support Kamala Harris. This isn't about Geraldo, it is about the dam beginning to break. And it's gonna get worse, considering here's the news we just got today. Kamala will be doing an interview on Fox News Sunday with Bret Baier, meaning even more people on the right or who watch Fox News will have the chance to have this impermeable right-wing bubble pierced. And once they get to hear from her directly and learn that it's her who's looking out for the middle and working class, it's her who's going to help small businesses, it's her who's going to get first-time homebuyers help, it's her who's going to protect reproductive rights, it's her who's going to protect the climate, it's her who's going to continue our record-breaking economy, it's certain that she'll peel off a few voters out there who otherwise are completely shielded from anything that isn't right-wing propaganda. Or, at a bare minimum, she'll offer a nice little contrast to Donald Trump, who is physically incapable of answering a single question without going off on some bizarre, unhinged tangent about God knows what. Case in point, here's his answer to a question about childcare. Keep that in mind when you're watching this. The question was about childcare.
If you win in November, can you commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare affordable? And if so, what specific piece of legislation will you advance?
Well, I would do that, and we're sitting down. I was somebody, we had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue, but I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, that, because look, childcare is childcare. There's something, you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send product into our country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare, that it's going to take care. We're going to have, I look forward to having no deficits within a fairly short period of time, coupled with the reductions that I told you about on waste and fraud and all of the other things that are going on in our country, because I have to stay with childcare. I want to stay with childcare, but those numbers are small relative to the kind of economic numbers that I'm talking about, including growth, but growth also headed up by what the plan is that I just told you about. We're going to be taking in trillions of dollars, and as much as child care is talked about as being expensive, it's relatively speaking not very expensive compared to the kind of numbers we'll be taking in. We're going to make this into an incredible country that can afford to take care of its people, and then we'll worry about the rest of the world. Let's help other people, but we're going to take care of our country first. This is about America first. It's about make America great again. We have to do it.
So yeah, maybe Kamala going on Fox News isn't going to be so scary when you consider the word salads that they've been force-fed over the last few years. I think if Kamala can manage subject, verb, predicate, she'll probably exceed whatever basement-level bar Trump has established among the viewers there. But going back to Geraldo, another virtue is that this voice is added to the chorus of other Republicans who have recently endorsed Kamala. Again, it's not about Geraldo himself, it is about him among so many others like him who are giving a permission structure to other disaffected Republicans, other common-sense Republicans, other pro-democracy Republicans, to know that it is okay to pull the lever for Democrats. That, as Jeff Duncan said at the DNC, it doesn't make you a Democrat, it makes you a patriot.
Let me be clear to my Republican friends at home watching. If you vote for Kamala Harris in 2024, you're not a Democrat, you're a patriot.
And let's be clear, the number of Republicans abandoning the sinking ship that is Trump is continuing to get bigger and bigger as we approach Election Day. While there are now too many to list, here are just some of the key Republicans endorsing Harris over Trump. Dick and Liz Cheney.
Former Republican Vice President Dick Cheney will be voting for Kamala Harris in November. That according to his daughter Liz, a former Republican congresswoman who has endorsed Vice President Harris herself.
I'm honored to have their endorsement, and I think that it's okay and, if not important, to put country above party.
John McCain's son, Jimmy McCain.
I feel that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz embody a group of people that will help make this country better, that will take us forward. And that's really what matters at the end of the day, is, voting with your heart.
Adam Kinzinger.
And I want to let my fellow Republicans in on the secret. The Democrats are as patriotic as us.
Jeff Duncan.
I'm willing to eat a little bit of humble pie here to do the right thing. And the right thing is to beat Donald Trump.
Stephanie Grisham.
I love my country more than my party.
Over 200 Republicans and climbing who've worked on the Bush, Romney, or McCain staff. Over 100 Republican former national security and foreign policy officials. And the list goes on and on and on. And again, for those people who say, Who cares what Liz Cheney or Adam Kinzinger think? They've got no constituency, that's why they're not in office anymore. Again, it is not about them individually, it's about them collectively. Each additional name is one more straw to add to the pile, and for some people out there, that'll be enough. It doesn't need to be millions of people, but remember, the margins in these elections aren't millions anyway. They're just a few thousand. It's a game of inches here, and endorsements like these give us the inches that we need. Before you go, just a quick note, if you'd like to see more of my content, which is always free of advertising, sponsorships, and paywalls, please make sure to subscribe to this channel using the subscribe button right here on the screen. And if you'd like to support my work even further, you can grab a copy of my instant #1 New York Times selling book, Shameless, available for sale right now. That link is also on the screen. Thanks so much for watching.
Donald Trump is just losing his mind right now that Vice President Kamala Harris will be taking an interview on Fox News with Bret Baier. Donald Trump is also livid and posting over and over again how pissed off he is that Fox has Ian Sams, one of Vice President Kamala Harris's senior advisors, on the show, or on the various shows. Frequently, Donald Trump says Ian Sams, who works for Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign, now owns Fox. They're in his pocket, Donald Trump is posting. He's pissed off that Ian Sams keeps going on and trolling him. Let me show you what Donald Trump is posting. Let me show you Ian Sams on Fox. Let me show you Governor Walz on Fox. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments if you think it is a good strategy for Vice President Kamala Harris to do this interview with Bret Baier on Fox, who Donald Trump is afraid of. And look, I don't think Bret Baier is a great interviewer. He's probably the only one on Fox who's almost like trying to do news as a host. And I'm talking about the host itself. Now, of course, Jessica Tarlov is great, but she's on the 5. I'm talking about like their cadre of hosts. But here's what Donald Trump's posting. Lion Kamala Harris has wisely chosen Bret Baier of Fox News to do a much-needed interview because he is considered to be fair and balanced, though often very soft to those on the cocktail circuit left. I would have preferred seeing a more hard-hitting journalist, but Fox has grown so weak and soft on the Democrats, constantly polluting the airwaves with unopposed Kamala representatives, that it all doesn't matter anymore. Hopefully the people will understand on November 5th and early voting make America great again. He's not done. It's post after post like this. He then writes, how much time does Ian Sams, senior advisor to Lion Kamala Harris, spend on Fox News? He's now on Cavuto, Fox's lowest rated show by far, and spent much of the weekend hitting Trump, totally unopposed, before two real beauties, Eric Shawn and Arthur Neville, not exactly the next Walter Cronkite of the broadcasting world. Sams is just a below-average guy with memorized fake news sound bites, almost all of which are wrong, but coupled with all of the other Harris radical left Democrat mouthpieces that Fox puts on, Richard Fowler, Patrick Murphy, Something Wolf, Jessica Tarloff, it has a very negative effect on the election. Think of it. I spend an hour with the wonderful Maria Bartiromo, do a beautiful job, and then I'm followed up all day long by one-sided negative Democrats, including Ian Sams, who virtually owns the network. It's not worthwhile doing interviews on Fox because It all just averages out into nothing. Fox News has totally lost its ways. Post after post like this. And let's just show you an Ian Sams appearance on Fox where he calls out Donald Trump. And this is one of the things that triggered Donald Trump. Ian Sams is like, release your medical records. Why are you not releasing your medical records? You seem clearly cognitively impaired. I'm going to say it. They're not saying it. It seems that you have dementia or Alzheimer's. It's just an opinion. You reflect the symptoms of it, whether you have it or not. You seem to be soiling yourself in public consistently at these speeches. Here's Ian Sams on Fox. This is very triggering to Donald Trump. I want to warn you. Play this clip.
We enjoy coming on your air, and the vice president's looking forward to her interview with Brett tomorrow night. It's actually kind of a stark reminder that we're not really seeing Donald Trump do very many interviews. It's been about a month now since he did a mainstream media interview, and we got to wonder why. You know, we called this weekend for him to release his medical records. The vice president released her medical report from her doctor, Donald Trump's team. I heard him on your air last hour insisting that everything is okay and that there's nothing to see here. And your anchor rightly asked, well, if that's true, why not just put him out? And so I think that you're going to get to hear from the vice president tomorrow night about her vision for the country and what she's looking forward to presenting to Fox News viewers, including, for example, her proposal to make sure that seniors in-home care is covered under Medicare, a very important proposal to help people bring down the costs for seniors as well as their kids who might be taking care of an aging parent. And so these are the kind of ideas that she's talking about and looking forward to talking and answering, tough questions on Fox News about.
And let's take a look at Governor Walz on Fox. And here Governor Walz says, when we're talking about women's reproductive rights, okay, we're not talking about election issues. We're talking about women's right to her bodily autonomy. Republicans see this as a way to divide, or MAGA see it as a way to divide. We're just saying women should have the freedom to make these decisions themselves. Play the clip.
I want to talk about abortion, too, because this came up at the debate. It's been a winning argument for Democrats on many ballots, but I want to clarify what the law is there in Minnesota. Abortion Finder, a website that helps women find access, says abortion is legal throughout pregnancy in Minnesota. There is no ban or limit on abortion in Minnesota based on how far along in a pregnancy you are. You signed the bill that makes it legal through all 9 months. Is that a position you think Democrats should advocate for nationally?
Unlock the world's largest, most liquid financial market with Forex.
Look, the vice president and I have been clear. The restoration of Roe versus Wade is what we're asking for.
But that law goes far beyond Roe v. Wade.
To make her own choice. The law is very clear. It does not change that. That has been debunked on every occasion. But
wait,
look, this is
let's agree. What you signed is there's not a single limit through 9 months of pregnancy. Roe had a trimester framework that did have limits through the pregnancy. The Minnesota law does not have that.
This puts the decision with the woman and her healthcare providers. The situation we have is when you don't have the ability of healthcare providers to provide that, that's where you end up with a situation like Amanda Zaworski in Texas, where they are afraid to do what's necessary. This doesn't change anything. It puts the decision back on to the woman, to the physicians. And we know that this is simply something to be brought up to be very clear. Donald Trump's asking for a nationwide abortion ban.
Wait, he
and
has
again,
said that
we don't see this as a winning campaign.
repeatedly that he will not sign a national abortion ban. Are you calling that just, it's a flat out lie?
Yes, of course. And Senator Vance has in the past said so too. Now look, they may see this as an election issue. We see it as a right of women to make their own bodily decisions. And that's what the states like my state have the ability to put that in. States like Georgia force women to cross the border, and then we have a death of Amber Thurman. So let's be very clear. Trying to cut hairs on an issue on this is not where the American public's at. They want the restoration of Roe versus Wade. Vice President Harris said she would sign it. That's what we'll do when we're elected.
But to be clear, the Minnesota law is
And here Governor Walz on Fox is saying that even those closest to Donald Trump are saying that he's unfit. Play the clip.
I will always defend people's rights to First Amendment, but that's not the folks I'm talking about. Those folks are not speaking for the entire group. So I think it's very clear on this. Israel's right, as we've stood with them. Anti-Semitism has no place in this country. And Vice President Harris has been clear about that. I've been clear about it. But the ability to bring a peaceful solution and understand Israel's right to defend itself, the return of the hostages, and Gazans' right to live in in peace too is something that we're trying.
to wait for hours in the heat, in the elements. Some people doing that. I know some of you don't like the word that describes what that is. Maybe the sound is no better. All to see Donald Trump. That's one thing, okay? And some supporters clearly are willing to do that. And then some of them leave very quickly, but they do that for Trump. Some of them maybe wouldn't be willing to do that if they knew that what happened in Coachella, California over the weekend at a Trump rally could happen to them, which is after going through all of that, they were abandoned. What? I'll show you videos, but first, the New Republic reports. Trump's Coachella rally went about as well as you'd expect. Donald Trump supporters were left stranded in the desert for hours. And while, of course, I acknowledge Trump himself is not making logistical decisions about when buses pick up and how many buses will take people back from. To me, this is representative of a very Trumpian thing, which is, again, I get that it's not exactly this specifically playing out, but it feels like it represents what Trump embodies, which is he used his supporters to cheer for him, and then he abandoned them. Just like how he'll money out of them and then doesn't actually work in their interest. And continue with this article. Thousands of Donald Trump supporters reportedly found themselves stranded Saturday night after the former president's rally in Coachella, California. Attendees were bused roughly 5 miles from parking to the venue at Calhoun Ranch, where Trump delivered a rambling 80-minute speech in scorching desert heat, during which several attendees required emergency medical attention. And it summarizes, we've talked about Trump's Coachella speech already, so I won't give you these summarizations, but someone said this isn't normal in a video on X. Apparently the buses are no longer coming, or at least there used to be like 20 buses when we were being brought here. But now there's only like 3 buses operating, and it's just chaos, absolute chaos. All of us are stranded here. Everyone's stranded here. Let's see if we can watch this.
This isn't normal. Apparently the buses are no longer coming, or at least there used to be like 20 buses when we were.
If I had known that he would say the exact words that I just read to you, I wouldn't have read them to you, but here's more footage. And of course it's not loading because it's X. That's unfortunate. But you can sort of see the sights and the sounds. I'll play more for you while we continue this discussion. Please do remember to click that subscribe button as we're trying to do the final dash to 1 million subscribers.
Good morning. Good morning, good morning. So what are we, about 5 minutes to go? Oh, heck, 9 minutes to go before the open. Things seem to be creeping higher here. It was pretty darn quiet overnight, but picking up a little bit of steam now. another chilly day here. I think they're starting to forecast snow this week. Bruh. About 30 seconds to go. Let's see what's going to happen. Things are pulling back a little bit. There we go. Sorry, more phone calls coming in after my friend and neighbor Joey died. So that was just another call. Holy cow. Well, Bitcoin's on its way to the first target. But S&P and Nasdaq, ooh, it's looking pretty quiet there. I wouldn't be so quick to be trading in there yet. At least we've got I've got a slightly bullish bias, only because we're above the upper value range, but they can't really seem to pull away from it. Very, very quiet. It wouldn't surprise me to see a quiet day here. I'm just looking at the daily chart of the S&P anyway. It's been basically 5 days straight up, like almost 200 points. It just bounced like a rubber ball off the 20-day moving average, and pretty well straight up ever since. That's a big move. So perhaps a little quiet time is deserved for it. Okay, there goes Bitcoin through the first. As we were talking about yesterday in the little impromptu dry run class for trend, I'm just sitting here looking at the 5-minute S&P, as you can see there, and we've just got a nice series of higher lows and higher highs. You can really see it on the 15-minute chart. And look, now it's starting to chug up higher. So the trend is definitely up, in my opinion, just based on my rules. But I can't really just jump in at this point. So what markets do you guys primarily watch? Are you guys Nasdaq folks, S&P folks? Because then we can expand one of these charts here, or any chart that you want for that matter. What would you guys like to watch? What are you guys trading? Don't be shy. Pop it in the chat there. There goes Nasdaq dropping down a wee bit. Oh, hey there, John. I just saw you in there. No, YouTube can act in very strange ways.
Hey friends, Eric here, and in this video I want to talk to you about how you can retire with just $300,000.
Trump supporters are spreading that hate and division in ways you we have not seen this level of enthusiasm like we are seeing in the state right now, probably since President Barack Obama won the state back in the day. People are taking to the streets to reject Donald Trump's hate and division and declare we are not going back. Meanwhile, Donald Trump supporters are spreading that hate and division in ways that are absolutely horrifying. I want to break down for you this contrast that we are seeing in the state and show you the numbers, show you all the data. My name is Brett Mycelis here with the Midas Touch Network. Remember to hit subscribe. We are on our way to 3.5 million subscribers, and we can't get there without you. First, I want to show you this from over the weekend. This was in St. Augustine's historic downtown, which was overwhelmed by Harris Wall supporters marching down the street in support of Vice President Harris. Check this out. Then on Monday in the Villages, which is typically a Republican stronghold that is an older community within Florida, they were fired up for Vice President Harris and making their voices heard. Check this out.
When we vote, when we fight, when we vote, how's everybody doing today?
And these people in the Villages were fired up. You saw the enthusiasm in those clips I just showed you. They then led a miles-long golf cart parade in order to drop off their ballots for Vice President Harris. Check this out. Here's another video of those golf carts going to vote for Vice President Harris. Over 1,000 golf carts there in the Villages on Monday. Watch this. And here's some of the very early data that we are receiving from the Secretary of State's office within Florida. We are seeing, when you look at who has voted by vote by mail so far, this is just amongst party affiliation. We are seeing Democrats with a current lead at 227,222 votes submitted by mail. Republicans 192,336 votes. No party affiliation, 95,735. The Democrats have received over 1,096,094 ballots. Republicans, 887,206 mail-in ballots, to show you the disparities there. Also, I would not be surprised if many of these kind of other or no party affiliation or even Republicans who are mailing in their ballots are actually voting for Vice President Kamala Harris. Harris. It's too early to really make much of this data, but it certainly is worth showing you the raw data and the numbers that we are seeing right now. Meanwhile, what was Donald Trump's campaign doing? What were the people involved closest to Donald Trump doing? They were holding the ultimate Trump boat parade over the weekend at Jupiter Inlet. And this is one of the most disgusting events that I have ever seen in my entire life. At this event, they were flying swastika flags during the boat parade, and this was an event that was attended and promoted by people like Eric Trump and Lara Trump, who you could see here on their boat. They decided to have this visual of Donald Trump with a bloodied mouth from the first assassination attempt with the words "fight, fight, fight," while they had children on the boat. Very disturbing to have on this boat right here. You could see Lara Trump with one of her children, it appears, with a Donald Trump face mask over his head. Also very strange. And let me show you, this is very disturbing, but this is the kind of stuff that the corporate media refuses to cover. I don't know why they are afraid to cover this, but this is one of the most important things that voters need to be seeing. So I apologize that this is hard to watch and hard to see, but we need to be speaking about this. This is near Palm Beach. We saw one of these boats as part of this Trump boat parade. Once again, this was being attended and promoted by Lara Trump and Eric Trump, and you see them there with their swastika flags. You see them with their Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy, advertising his sale that is at $14.88. That is a Nazi symbol as well. More on that in a second. But first, let me show you a video of this just absolutely disturbing video of these Trump supporters, Nazis, in the Florida boat parade. Watch this.
5 words you pronounce wrong 2 years before your brain starts shutting down. Dementia is now known.
Look at those beautiful swastikas. There we go. Why?